Hello and welcome to Modern Oracle. Should we show them what it is? They should know because they've bought it, but we'll show them anyway.
Looks like this. This is what you will have received, and you must have opened it, or maybe not, because the link and stuff will be on the outside of here, covering the secret part of the box. But this is Modern Oracle, and it looks almost like this when it's out of the plastic. I guess we should tell them about how this came about.
Yeah, so let's start with our first version, which, if you're familiar with Roulette, when Chris and I worked on that, this was something that we came up with mid-process of doing Roulette, and it was like almost to the point where, should we just do this first, because this is so much easier to produce. But yeah. This, I mean, you know, it couldn't be simpler, could it really? This is our first version.
This was the first, so this was a Make Playing Cards one that you had printed up. Mm-hmm. This was the first design. It's quite different in style from what you have now. Although at the time, actually, when you showed me this, much like with Roulette, I went, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's not often where you get things in one go, but I mean, we've made some tweaks, didn't we? But the faces of the cards and the concept of the deck, which is, you know, it's obviously based on the old Magic 8 Ball, isn't it? And we've just taken all the results you get on a Magic 8 Ball and put them into card form, and then made it so you know whether you've got a yes or no answer, no matter what you do with the cards and where you shuffle them or anything.
And we should say, like, when it was like this, it obviously didn't have a box. We knew it would have one, but it didn't have a box. It was just the cards, and we were just playing around with in between Roulette, which was a long, if people own that, they know about the length of that process, I meant to say. This was like just kind of in the background hovering. We both really liked it, and we, as time went on, we were just kind of shaping the tricks you could do with it. And for a long while, it was just a cool way of like people really shuffling, answering questions.
It's just fun, isn't it? It's just something you can just, you know, you control the answers, you control the outcomes, and it's a bit like the lie detector test, isn't it? It's, you can kind of, there's quite a lot of fun you can have when the answers are going in the way that you want them to.
You know, as well, so having this version, because you had this printed, so this was with you for quite a while, and it wasn't until further down the line, and you can see how used this is to show that we really, you know, test out and do these things. This was just with you for a few months whilst we were finishing off Roulette, and I had other things going on as well, as you did. And I remember thinking, we were on the phone once, and that was when we realised this big idea. It surrounds Modern Oracle now, which is this idea, this sort of, without meaning to sound concept of changing the questions to fit the answers, which was the big. It actually didn't take that long to realise, and when we did, I think I was like, "Oh, you can do this," and you were like, "Yeah, well, that's what I've been talking about for the last 3 phone calls," and I was like, "Oh yeah," but it's an obvious thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just had fun, you know, showing it to my children. You know, are you going to be good today? Yes. Are we going to have dinner? Yes. Are we going to bed?
After dinner, take anyone?
Yeah.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was the kind of core concept. And at this stage, I mean, the borders on these are bigger. The 8 is very different. If we look at a real one here, this is all you. This is
that's the final one. You can see, can't you?
It looks very similar to this. Just little tweaks that, whenever we work on something together, I enjoy seeing how these things develop. So if you look at like this was actually a sample. This was the final sample. Sorry, not the final sample. The second to final sample. And if we look at those two side by side, they're a little different in colour. The borders are bigger.
Minor changes,
but it's so much better, the final version, it really is. So those are the sort of things that, unless you have seen other versions, you probably wouldn't notice. But I think they make a big difference, and I'm really glad that you're details focused.
But it wasn't like Roulette, where the whole design was changing over and over again, where this was like, the concept was there.
So the back looks like a Magic 8 Ball. It's kind of obvious and simple. The colours, this was your idea, because I actually think I wanted them all to be black or dark at the beginning. It was you who went with, you were quite strong on them needing to be 2 different colours, which I think is big. The
visual's really important, I think, on this.
I think so.
And also it helps you for other effects as well, doesn't it? There's other things you can do. It's not just, is it a yes or is it a no?
Yeah. Before we get too much into like exactly how to use it, I just want to talk about really quickly how we kind of introduce this. I love how small this is. So when it's in a box and looks like this without the plastic, when I show this to people, I introduce it as, have you seen the Magic 8 Ball? And I just say this is like a travel-friendly, a pocket-friendly version of that, because everyone knows that real 8 Ball is quite sizable and cumbersome, big plastic thing. And I found truly from experience with lots of real people, but also at Blackpool, we sort of previewed this, people went nuts for it. And I can see the kind of smirk on people's faces when I say, this is a Magic 8 Ball, this is like a travel, look, it's really
But
small.
that's the key thing, isn't it? It's the fact you can say that one line and they know exactly what it is.
It's like the roulette cards. It's like that being a number deck based on roulette. We're sat here filming in this bar in Manchester, and there's a roulette slot machine kind of thing right there. It's just that universally in pop culture kind of thing.
Yeah, and even if people didn't have one themselves, certainly a friend had it. You can still see them in supermarkets and everywhere.
Literally in Sainsbury's near my house. I remember sending you not too long ago. So they're still in the world.
Yeah.
So that's how it's kind of come to exist. The design is all John. We made a few tweaks and changes, but next in a moment we'll get into the kind of specifics of the deck, how it works, all of that stuff. I just want to take a moment we both did. Thank you for buying this. Thank you for picking it up. You now own a great thing that isn't just a collection of really solid tricks and kind of extra ideas that we'll talk about later. But I think this is amazing as a framework for bigger things.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later too. But you've got a fun thing that is a kind of a toy that you can use to force certain outcomes or force certain things. It's also just fun to play around with. It's also great for magic tricks, and it's also great as a presentational kind of framework for mind reading and other things too. So you've really got a lot here, and in terms of value, I think we should have charged quite a chunk more for it. I know people say all the time in Magic, but this is more than just a cool, cute trick, which is disarming, because I think that's what this looks like if you see pictures or before you understand what this can do as a whole thing, you kind of go, oh, that's a cool idea. And then the more time you spend with it, like we have, you realise, like, wow, this can actually do a lot more than we've initially planned.
Yeah, 100%. And the things you brought to it, I think, really kind of took this to that next level. Because I'd have been still doing it as just a bit of fun things for the children, but like some of Chris's things that he's added in, I just second them. So should we start getting into some of the effects then?
Okay, so let's talk about the deck. We want all of this to be really packed full of information, but we don't want it to be like a 9-hour video, so we're just going to try and be relatively brief here. Also, I want to point out that the reason we're here is because we thought it would be fun to film in a space that was on a pool table. So
with our inspiration, of course.
Just appreciate that this is just in the shot, and we're here in Manchester. We could have been in a nice fancy studio, but we're here instead, and it's amazing. But just understand that we're here just for your enjoyment on a pool table. So this is what it looks like when you open it up. It's amazing. I love this kind of logo that you added here. It's awesome. Ask me anything. You've got the instructions on the box. I like this a lot because it reminds me, it's reminiscent of the kind of ad cards I put in Memoraid or the how to play card we put in Roulette.
Yeah.
But it's on the box, so we're kind of efficiently saving space by putting it on the box. And then also this kind of, if you look carefully at your box, it's a matte black box, which we really like. The printing is kind of a spot varnish, very subtle, but it is relatively, slightly glossy. And that will help sell the illusion of what the back of the box does, which we'll talk about in a moment. But for now, I know you've already looked at all of this and you're going, oh, the box has a hole in it. But let's pretend like they don't know that, right?
Right, yeah. Well, it wouldn't have, the original designs didn't have a hole, so we tweaked it for something Chris added later on. But anyway,
so look at this. They arrive beautifully separated, ready for Out of This World if you want to perform that with these, which we'll talk about later. They're perfectly cut, they're properly printed. I want to talk about the cardstock because we did with Roulette the same cardstock I did for Word Games, Memoraid, Predictable, all of those things. With this, we spoke back and forth a lot actually, right, about what cardstock they should be on. Am I remembering this right? We felt strongly that if this was on that black core German cardstock with kind of the linen finish on, it would look weird.
No, they just need to be like a game you'd pick up in a shop, which often aren't playing card stock. It's great as magicians, you want everything to be on playing card stock because it feels nice, you can do everything. But there's no need for these to be anything more than that. These are still long-lasting, good quality cards.
It's still black core card.
It doesn't.
Paper.
Yeah, you haven't got that kind of the playing card finish. That's all that is.
You're not going to be table farrowing these or doing anything like that. And actually, it's actually one of those rare. I mean, like all of the things like Roulette, all that other stuff that are games, the more used it looks, like the more it looks like this, in terms of like being a bit grubby and beaten up and really used. I think actually that makes it look completely like a real thing.
Yeah, there's a charm to it, and also the fact that it doesn't really matter that much.
It doesn't matter. All you're doing with these is shuffling them up, having them shuffle and cut. So, you're set for a really long time. But so the key aspect, if you keep them separated, if you keep them separated, blue and black, and you spread them on the table in front of you, I said red, black a moment, that's funny, you'll notice that all of the yeses, which are the blue faces of the cards, have these rounded corners, and we'll put some pickup shots here so you can see. But rounded corners, and all of the no's, all of the negative answers that are black faces have 4 sharp corners, and that just means that you can see very clearly from a distance in someone else's hands, because of the black and white contrast. You can see really clearly which answer is on top or which one they're removing, right? I don't think we realised how easy to read this would be until we started really using it in the final versions.
You can't miss it, can you?
You can't miss it. The contrast of black and white just makes it pop.
The other nice thing is when they're shuffled up as well, just when you can glance down at your corner to find out which one it is, but also if you just push us across a few, you can see what the following ones are as well. So if you get given the deck and the top card isn't what you want, you can just you can cut it to one that is, or even you just carry on shuffling or anything. And also just from if they're away out your reach, you can still see what the mark is.
That's what I'm saying. Like the way I do this the most at the moment is tends to be in people's hands and without a table often, and that's because I'm using this in walk around quite a lot at the moment and enjoying it hugely. We'll talk about that later. But because of the contrast and because it's all 4 corners that are either sharp or soft or rounded, if you like, it's just so easy. Like the people might be covering parts of the card, but you can always see at least one corner to know what the card is. So that tells you what's on top. All the blues are positive and all the blacks are negative, even though we shuffled these a moment ago. Once again, they are separated. Call me Juan Tamariz. And please edit that out, John, if you don't.
Oh no, that's staying.
We'll really shuffle these now. Shuffle. So these are in here. They're all mixed up. Mix them up, that's important for later on. And then we'll come to the box. So the box has a feature that we actually added just before we did the final samples, and the second to last sample, so that not these ones but the ones before this, we made a few changes. It's actually here. So like John added these great little logos, 8-ball oracle with a nice logo on the top. You just made everything look better, but this one had plastic stuck in the window.
Yeah, which got in the way, didn't it?
It got in the way, but we thought it would make it look more slick, and actually what we then realised was if it didn't have the plastic, it was better for showing to make it look like it might actually be printed on the box. So this is an illusion that once you know it's there, it will be hard to see convincingly. But for people who don't know...
No, and the other point is the original design, it looked exactly like that without the hole. Yeah. And that was just going to be an embossed thing. So when Chris first saying, I want to put a hole in the box, I was like, I'm not sure that works for me.
John said... Design-wise, I'm not sure that'll work. And I was like, because originally we arrived at this place where we might have someone look at a card, for example. That was a basic example. And we might use the modern oracle to then discover what card they were thinking of. And then, using the bigger concept we'll talk about in a moment, of changing the questions to fit the answers that they cut and shuffled, we were going to do that. So I then said, well, why don't we put a hole in the box? And you were thinking I was going crazy.
Yeah.
That will look terrible. And I said, no. If we do that, it becomes a peak box. And now this is a peak device. And let me and we'll do all of this in depth in a little while, but if I put an answer in there, but the other way round, that's how clearly you can read something through this, whether it's sideways or like this or, or whatever. So that becomes its own kind of mechanism to make this a totally self-contained thing. So when these are inside the box, this was really exciting. So at Blackpool, we previewed Modern Oracle. We took a good number of them, but a limited number of them. They were all gone, I think, at some point on the Sunday. My point is there was a real buzz around it. A lot of people were asking if they could film me doing it. I said no to all of them. Created a real buzz around this. And whenever I was pitching this, like showing this behind the stand, I performed it for them and really fooled people. And then I would tell them exactly how it worked. And I loved seeing their face go, oh, when I told them about the peak box. So So you can show this like this and keep it moving around sort of gently. And it looks like, because this is spot varnish and it's a bit shiny on the matte black, and that's a little shiny because it's the back of the cards, it just absolutely looks like that's printed on here. We have bright lights right here, so I don't know how it looks on camera right now, but in real life...
But even then, it does look like it looks no different to this, does it? It's just there.
Perfect.
It's great. And
but it is, once you see it, you'll know it's a hole, but it's one of those kind of internal illusions, I think, visual illusions, it's almost like an optical illusion. It is a hole, but it doesn't look like one. But then once you see it, once you know it to be a hole, it's like,
But once you add that in as a peak, you open up so many doors of where you can go with it, because when we first started doing it, it's like it was just to reveal something.
Yeah.
And now you can literally do anything.
You just need this. You just need these, like a business card or something, and you can do a whole walk around set, or you can do funning at a house with friends. You can do it in a coffee shop. So that's the deck. The box is a peak box. It all looks beautiful because of John's hard work. The the quality on everything is as high as standards you'd expect from Roulette, from anything of mine. It's the best that is in our industry, made by an amazing producer. And now you're holding this. Now is a perfect time to really dive into some of what this can do.
Yep, let's do it.
This is the prelude, and I think it's a really important, let's call it a prelude, a warm-up, whatever you like. I think this is really important to sell what the hook of this is when I do this. So I perform this. I know there's lots of ways you can. I perform this by saying that this is, it's like the Magic 8 Ball. I got it on Amazon, or I sometimes say eBay or whatever. Or a friend gifted it to me at Christmas. But it's a deck of cards. It's really small, fits in your pocket, and instead of shaking up the ball, you shuffle the cards to get an answer to the question. So look, these are all the different answers that are possible, just like you find in the Magic 8 Ball. Why don't you mix them up? So that's how I introduce the deck. That's not the prelude yet. The prelude is kind of a mini series of effects before we get to whatever trick it is I'm going to do. And I think it's important to do this because it just establishes the hook, which is, I say, so Magic 8 Ball cards, blah, 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 blah. I got them on eBay. And what's amazing about these is they always seem to know the answer to every question I ask them. And I've had these for a few months now, since Christmas or whenever I say, and I've been trying to break this kind of 8 ball oracle, and it seems to always be right. It seems to always know the answer. So if you want, we can try this together.
Let's do it.
It's an interesting hook for people. It sounds cool. So now I look down and I see the marks. This is around the corner. I know it's a yes. So I'm going to say, so ask the oracle, say, is my name John? And then turn over the top one.
Right. Is my name John?
Turn it over.
Absolutely.
And it always knows the answer. And as you're turning that, I'm reading the mark on the next one, so I know the next one's a yes. So move that off to the side. I'll ask the oracle, I'll say, is my name Chris? And I'll turn that over. All signs point to yes. See, it knows the answer to every single question. Ask it, did you have breakfast this morning?
Or did I have breakfast?
Just hang on, just nod or shake your head. Don't let the oracle hear you. Did you have breakfast? You did, right? So ask it. Did it say, did I have breakfast this morning?
Did I have breakfast this morning?
Turn it over.
The outlook is good.
And did I have breakfast this morning? It is most likely that I had some porridge, right? So it knows the answer to every single question. Mix them up one more time.
Yeah, I probably need to mix them a little bit better.
Yeah, there's a brand new one, not shuffled so much, so you might not get so many yeses in a row.
There we go.
But they're really shuffled up. There we go. But it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what's there. That's the beauty of this. But now there's a no on top. So now you might say, you're going to ask the oracle, say, is my name Chris? And because it's not, it should know.
Is my name Chris? I would not think so.
I would not think so.
No.
Is my name John? Not a chance, because you know my name is Chris.
Yeah.
It knows the answer to every single question. I don't know how it knows. Mix them up one more time. And that's the prelude, right? So we're done. So the bigger concept here throughout Modern Oracle in general is this idea of changing. So after the spectator to a shuffle, so in this case there's a no on top, changing the question. So asking the right question to match the answer that you've decided on. But you don't know their mark, you don't know that I know. So it feels like that's always what was going to happen. This prelude, though, you don't need a table for. You can do it in the hands. But by doing this, what you're doing is like these mini little effects. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It's very kind of playful. I'll change what I say each time depending on what's there, but it's usually like, is my name Chris? Is your name John? Are we here in Manchester? Whatever that is. Are we here at the blah, 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 blah event? do we like the competitor's name? Like, all of this stuff. And it just does this, it's proving, it's kind of proving the hook that the Oracle always knows. They know it's playful, it's tongue-in-cheek, and it establishes, I think, a lower expectation for in a moment when you really kick them in the, excuse my language, kick them in the nuts with the stuff that's going to follow.
Yeah.
So I will always do this prelude before I do any other reveal or any other trick with Modern Oracle, whether that be an out of this world as like a bonus idea, or whether that be the deck divide we'll talk about later, or the card revelation or a name or an object or a drawing or whatever. So this usually comes right at the beginning before anything else really happens. And I think it's important to give it its own section here. You don't really do this part of it. I know you do it a different way, but
No, well, I mean, I'll sort of say, how are you making decisions and things like that? Because I use this deck all the time. Should I have breakfast today? For sure, it's just way of getting and that's how I bring it in, and you obviously reference the Magic 8 ball. Remember when you were a kid, and you had the 8 ball, and you'd shake it up, and you'd see the answer. But that's exactly what this is. And then I use it to get through my day. If I don't know, if I'm procrastinating about something, I use these, and then and it always tells me the best way of doing things, and it's amazing what it can tell you. And then we move on.
So whether you do or don't do the prelude, we have different ways of doing it. We just want to give you full kind of information here so you can choose what you like. I found at Blackpool, when I was doing the prelude before I went into one of various different tricks I was doing with Modern Oracle there, it was really fooling people. And I could also see, not the prelude I guess, but I could really see that was tickling their imagination with like, wow, that's a novel presentation. It's putting all the emphasis on the object, takes all the heat off you as the magician or the mind reader, and just that idea of changing what you're going to ask the Oracle to fit the answer is a really interesting idea, I think. Modern Oracle has a main framework, if you like, for the way that you reveal information with it. That information will change, and we'll cover all of those topics here. But I thought now would be a great time to show you a performance of me out in the real world doing what is currently my favourite way of performing with Modern Oracle. This is what it looks like. Have you seen before, the Magic 8 ball that you shake gives you an answer? Have you seen that? Right, okay, good. So this is like a deck of cards, has the answers to all the questions you can ask. It's like an Oracle.
That's amazing, because I hate making decisions.
Right, so this will be, you can have this afterwards, it's perfect for you. Give them a mix, both of them, mix them up. So this, I actually found you can use like an Oracle.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to break this in terms of like make it not work for ages.
So it's like White Boy Tarot?
That'll probably get edited out, but you could call it that, yes.
I could just call it Male Tarot. Male Tarot.
So it is kind of like tarot, but I found that it has the answer to every single question that we can ask it. It's unusual. So when you're happy, someone take all of the cards and give them a mix a little more.
I can't shuffle, so I'll give that to you.
Can you, just as a test for this, can you think of an object? So like a car, a boat, a plane, something kind of common that we'll recognise, but something that I or this couldn't just guess.
Yeah.
All right. Make a note of it inside the little circle, print it nice and clear, but when you're done, and make sure I don't look, you're going to make sure I don't watch. You're going to turn it face down when you're done. All right. I'm really not looking. And keep mixing the cards as well. It's important that as you mix, you just let it be random and free.
I did knock the card off the table, that would really help.
It's okay. We all done? Face down. Good, we'll get rid of this for later. And this goes over here. All right, you happy? It's very good. Neatness does count. We'll set them on the table. So the first thing we can ask them I'll ask them, is my name Chris? And if it's right, like I'm saying it always is, it should give us a positive answer. So yes, absolutely. Okay. And if I say, like, where are we right now?
Yeah.
But where are we?
Foundation Coffee House.
In what city?
Manchester.
In Manchester. If I say we're in Liverpool, not a chance. It knows. It's really weird.
Wouldn't want to be in Liverpool.
And you say, is my name, and then say your name.
Is my name Jane?
Turn it over. It is most likely. And
It's
ask
most
it as
likely
well.
your name, Jane.
Ask it
Is
about
my
your
name Charlotte?
Turn over. All signs point to yes. It's weird, isn't it? This is you shuffled them, you mixed everything.
Yeah.
So look, we can try this differently. This is just kind of the warm-up. So take some of the cards each, both of you, and again mix them. You distribute some to Charlotte as well. And we'll get rid of this. But in a moment, you're going to cut 1, 2, 3 piles. This is important though. In a triangular formation. So one here, one here, one here, and a triangle. We'll get rid of this.
Tarot. The pyramid spread. freaky. I don't know why I'm panicking about looking. I'm not the one doing the magic.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. It's all the cards. So someone take all of them whenever you're happy.
Oh, it's
and
a
they're
my deck.
truly mixed, right? There's no way there's any control over those. Cut 3, so one here, one here, one here, in a triangle. You happy like that?
I mean, it's not equal, but it'll do.
No, that's good though. Okay, so I've actually learned as well that I can ask the oracle questions to try and find out the object that you're thinking of.
Okay.
So we'll try that.
Yeah.
So is this something, don't you tell me, but this will tell us, is this
Okay.
something man-made, is my first question. My sources say yes. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right. Is this something edible? What's the answer?
No.
Not a chance.
Okay.
And is this something within a sort of 2 metre radius of where we are? I guess is a good question. Let's have a look.
1 minute. I'm not actually sure. Sort of. Maybe no.
Is this accurate so far, even though you're mixed?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So if you look at this formation of cards on the table,
Okay.
and if I look right in the middle,
Yeah.
I get like a flash of inspiration. The layout of the cards tells me that you must be thinking about like a vase or something.
Yeah.
Really? Look. Very neatly, yeah, it was.
No way.
So now we've talked about how this works and you've seen a real world performance. Thought I might as well do it here for you as well, just
Yeah.
so that you have absolute clarity, in terms of how this works. So let's imagine you don't know what this is, John.
No, what is it, Chris?
So you've seen this before? You've seen the Magic 8 Ball before?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Right, yeah, this is just like that.
Yeah.
I got it off eBay. It's kind of interesting. I think some games company have made it at some point. It's just like the Magic 8 Ball, but people have turned it into like a little game on cards. Has all the answers you'd find on a Magic 8 Ball, but it fits in your pocket. It's really tiny and small. Before we get to that though, can you think about an object?
Okay.
Don't tell me what that is. And then inside of the Magic 8 Ball, make a note of that object. Don't draw it, just write it. And then when you're done, set that face down
Okay.
for me.
There you go.
Is it done?
Yeah.
Get rid of that for later. Right, good. Thank you for capping the pen. Good. So if you could shuffle the oracle. This is an amazing thing. So it's not just a modern oracle, an 8-ball oracle that you can buy online. I've actually found that this knows the answer to every single question. Keep shuffling it.
Okay,
You'll want
right,
to
it's
shuffle
okay.
one in a moment, trust me. Has the answer to every single question that you can ask it, and it always has the right answer. It's like one of those annoying friends.
Right.
Has the correct
Got a few of
answer.
those.
I'm sitting next to one right now. So you understand what this is.
Yeah.
So for example, if you ask the oracle, if you say, is my name John,
Is my name John?
turn over the top one.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely right. And if I say, is my name Chris, you can count on it. It knows the answer to everything. Where are we right now? What city are we in?
Manchester.
And if you say, are we in Manchester?
Are we in Manchester? Definitely.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
ask now, are we in Birmingham?
Are we in Birmingham? Very doubtful.
Right, see,
Yeah.
it knows the answer to every single question. I don't know how. Would you pick all of those up and give everything a mix again in a moment? In any way you like as well. You can shuffle, you can try faro, they do
Yeah.
faro. And then when you're done, when you've mixed them, would you cut 1, 2, 3 piles on the table in a triangle formation? That's really
Oh,
important.
okay, yeah.
So I've also learned that the oracle has all the answers, but I can use it to try and understand the object you're thinking of. So if we look here, but before we turn over, I can ask the oracle, I can say, is this something natural, something found in nature? Don't tell me yourself, but we can look here. Not a chance. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this something I could make? Ask again later. We actually need an answer right now, so I'll ask again now. Is this something I could make? As I see it, no. Is that accurate? Or we?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Is this something that our friend Bradley owns? Definitely not. So when I look at this formation of cards, I understand that you must be thinking about, is it a car?
It is a car.
Is it
yes.
really? And now
Yeah.
you could look here, but
Yeah.
I prefer not to, but it really is a car.
It's just great.
So you've seen me do this before. We talked about this a load. The reactions from actual people are really strong. But John here, he's
That's obvious.
So this is kind of the framework that I like. We already spoke about the prelude. but I just want to cover a few little details that make this work. This is true if they write down an object, or if they draw a picture, or if they peek at a playing card, or they're going to write a playing card. We'll talk about all of that, I think, kind of now as one big topic, rather than make all these separate clips for you to watch. But this utilises the box as a peek device. It utilises the Oracle, and then just a cool hook. So to begin with, I think it's important to understand that I threw the pen, so I can't get that.
Yeah.
But I give you a business card, so I introduce the deck, and usually how I'll travel around with these or use these is to take a business card and slide it just under the top of the deck, and then everything is inside there and we're all set to go. So I'm bringing this out. I'll actually spin the 8-ball card around so it's the right way. Bringing this out like this, there we go. And I'm showing this to you and I'm saying, hey, do you know the Magic 8-ball? And I'm keeping this moving so that you see that that's there. Because what I'm doing right now is showing you the method, but you don't know that. And then I'm talking about what these are, where I got them from, what they do. You can have people read off the box what's there. It explains, the purpose of the deck and how to use it. You'd be amazed the amount of people that are really into tarot and oracles in general that straight away kind of light up when you show them this. So you introduce the cards and you give them to the person, right? So they might shuffle them, or if you've got more than one person, they'll start to shuffle. But now I'm going to say, you know what, before we do anything, can you think of an object? Because I want to get this part out of the way so that it kind of becomes less important towards the end, which is when I'm going to reveal what that is. And I think this is a really important structure. I used to do the prelude, right, and then I would have them write, and then I would go into the rest of the trick. I found that to be very clunky, and it's better up front to get this out of the way. So cards out the box so that the window is open, if you like. You're going to write down the object, you're going to set it down when you're done. Now I'll say mix the cards, and all the focus is on the Oracle here, so you're shuffling the cards, and I just say, we'll get rid of this for later, and it goes in the box facing me, because I'm going to give it to you like this. Because of the writing I've got on here, you're always going to write that way up. So I know that when I put it in here like this and spin the box around, it's going to be the right way for me. But you should be able to read backwards, upside down, reversed, whatever you like. So it doesn't really matter how that goes in, should you not have a business card with your name on the side. So you shuffle these up, and now we would do the prelude, which we don't need to do again, because you understand this, and you can watch this back. I will now say, okay, good. So I can also use the Oracle to understand something that someone thinks of. So you're thinking about an object.
Yes.
So keep shuffling the cards for me. Keep shuffling the Oracle. And then in your hands, and I'm leaving this, by the way, on the table, if we're using a table. If we're not, we'll talk about that in a bit. In our kind of space, so it's in the way. So I have a reason in the moment to pick that up. That's really important. So this all happens. Shuffle up the Oracle. That's good. And now I'd like you to cut, and I'm picking up from above, because we don't want them to see this. I now want you to cut, and I'm going to tip up like this with my thumb on the top and my finger, so I'm pointing, but really I'm looking right at the box, right? I'm peeking. I'm going to pick this up. Sometimes I'll peek here, which is what I did just now. Other times I'll pick up and say, would you cut 1? And now I'm looking because I'm pointing here. 2, 3 piles in like a triangle formation, and then I'll throw that off to the side.
Which I completely missed, I have to say.
Did you?
Well, when I was at this point, I was like, when's he going to pick that thing? So yeah, there you go. So that, and given I know exactly what's happening, still flew past.
This was your idea. So it really does fly. So a few bits of detail about this that are obvious, but they're important, I think. When this goes in initially, it goes in and it goes away. I think that sells this, because the temptation now is to put it in and then say, okay, so we'll put that in there, and then people look at it for too long, and that's how to not peek something. So it goes in, I turn it around so the orientation's good, but you don't have to, and I leave it and there's no focus on it. Focus is back on you and me and the Oracle. And then after we've done the prelude, and remember this is creating more distance and time between you writing and something interesting happening, that's still there. There's no focus on it. I'm completely ignoring the box, but it's still in this area. Now I'm going to pick this up. This is a little different if we're doing stand-up, but we'll talk later. Now I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to say you're going to cut 1, 2, 3 piles. As soon as I've seen what that is and I can read clearly, and I'll show you here, I'm just roughly drawing a circle on there. I'm saying inside the 8-ball, because presentationally I think it's kind of charming, but I'm not exactly drawing where that is. So actually I drew this a little off to the side, which means that when I'm glimpsing this, it's a little off, but that's fine, right? Because of the depth of the box, if they write way over here, you can turn and you can see into the box if you need to. So I'm picking up, as soon as I've read that clearly, this drops down. So it's like I'm going to go, would you cut? So I peek in here if I can, 1, that's an extended look, 2, extended look. And as soon as I've seen it, the third one, as soon as I've done it, you'll know when I've peaked it, right, as we go on today in film, because it's going down and I'm pointing. And then as soon as that's done, so you're going to cut 1, 2, 3 piles. Usually the third one is face down, so I'm going 1, 2, and then 3. And then I'll kick that off to the side because I'm sending this message that I don't care about that. It's truly unimportant. And remember that, I'm doing a lot of talking here, but peaking stuff is how I make a living.
No, I was going to say, you're the man for this. So yeah,
when I'm showing you this at the beginning, and you're seeing that that's apparently printed on the box, and your brain soaks that up as part of the design of the box, it means that, obviously it means that I don't have X-ray eyes, no one does, I couldn't see through that. But that doesn't mean that you can just be really brutal with when you look at this, I don't think. I think you need to structure this in a way that makes sense. So it's like an offbeat, I'm picking this up to clear the space, I'm gesturing in a way that makes sense, and I'm getting rid of this. And the whole attitude is, that's unimportant.
When you're picking it up, are you controlling where that card is, or are you just letting it do its thing?
I'm not. I think I naturally do I never close the box because I don't want to be too fiddly and wasting time. I want it to be like, I want it to feel like, we'll get rid of this.
It's just
for later and it's gone. So I don't want to be like closing it and being very specific about this and being all magician-y. I just want to kind of stuff it in and leave it. I do naturally, my finger kind of closes over that if I can, but I don't worry about it. And then if it did start spinning out, it won't because of those little tabs, but if it did, I could kind of knock that back in.
But in terms of when it's in the box and whether it's angling up or down, you're not bothered.
Because I can see 90% of that card, whether I do this or that. And a little story, like kind of weird story time. I did this I've done this a lot. You've done this a lot as well, but I was doing this 3 days ago on someone at my house who is super skeptical because they've seen me do every kind of magic you can imagine. And afterwards they said, this is genius, just because they were so charmed by they're not a magician. They went, this is genius. I love this. And I was like, well, that's very nice. Can't wait to tell John. And then they said, let me see that box. And I told you about this on the phone, but so I just thought, well, yeah, of course. So I took this out, threw this to the side, and I picked up the cards and I put them back in, and I gave them the box, everything, sealed it up. And she looked at it, she took the cards out, she looked at the cards, she said, this is amazing. The cards went down, she picked up the box, she looked straight at the hole, she then did this. This sounds like an exaggeration, I promise you it's not. Got her torch on her phone, shone it into the box, it was beaming out of the side. And then she put the cards back and went, I do not understand. And I think that has happened because everything about this presentation is that the Oracle knows the cards are doing this and I'm just assisted by the cards. So because there's so much focus on the deck itself, she didn't, even though she definitely saw that hole, it's not like it was psychologically invisible or something. She just didn't connect that I don't even think she remembered that this was in the box, but she did not connect the idea that I could have used that to peak.
Nor should she really.
Of
It's
course
so
not.
It's so
but it's
out
such
of
a
play.
good lesson, I think. 'Cause we assume that oh my God, if they see that's a hole, you're busted.
No.
Not true if you do this right.
And the other thing actually is that the fact you get casino cards have that big hole in, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's not completely
let's
unusual.
really look at what's on the box. So ask a question, turn over the deck to reveal the answer. That could mean we've left this kind of universal. That could be because you might want to shuffle. And we should mention this because we don't use it this way so much, to be honest.
No, but when we were making it, we made sure that the triangle fits in the circle, almost like if you were to shake the ball and it would float to the top. That's how it would look. So that was a consideration, but it's nice to justify it if anyone did ask why is there a hole in the box.
Yeah, you've literally got a reason that's printed on the box that you can say. Well, I mean, you never want to go this far.
No, you don't need to, but it's there if it's needed, which is
which is what I was kind of prepared in that moment to say was, oh no, that you can read on the box. That's there because you shuffle them and put them in the box. And then I was ready to say all of this, like then you draw out another warning, you look at the next answer and all this stuff. But it just was amazing to me. Like I remember ringing you up and calling up a couple of other people and just telling this, what is now an unbelievable story. I was so amazed that this happened. So I'm not saying everyone will think like that, but that's Siren. I'm not saying everyone will think like that, but it was a really good lesson for me. And like I said, I think a lot about how to make it look like I read people's minds. There's real power in this. And speaking to friends of ours, There's Brad has said many times he's convinced that you could just, because you're so busy shuffling the deck, you could just pick this up and just sit and read it and then stick it away.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Because I mean, you said, I mean, like, even me used to put shuffling cards. I was still there and shuffling. You could do a song and dance here. I'd have no idea. So you've done your peak.
Yeah, so I've done the peak now, and then we're going to move on to. So that's kind of exactly like that, pushed off to the side. You can put this away in a pocket or something, but it's just off to the side. I'm now going to have you cut the 1, 2, 3 piles, so you will have done that already.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to read all of these. I'm just going to go with whichever one I'm drawn to first, which happens to be here. This is a yes. And now, because I know your object, I'm going to reframe or choose questions that match the answer that will lead me to your object. So if it's a car again, so if I put this in the middle so they can all see it's car, and I look here and that's a yes, I'm going to ask the question, for example, like, so is this something, don't you tell me, the oracle will know, is this something man-made? And as I'm pointing, I'm double checking before I ask the question, is this something man-made? It is most certain. Is that right? And I'm pretending like I don't know. It's like I'm not doing anything. This feels like if Danny Ortiz was a mind reader, he would be like, "Is that? I don't know."
When you did it to me just now, it was 3 no's, wasn't it? It doesn't give you too much options to play with that. This is a bit better because you've got a yes and 2 no's.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You just, is this man-made or natural? Is this something I could make? Is it something I could own? Is it something close to us?
Yeah.
Is this something built in this country? Is this, if it's natural, is it edible? Is it bigger or smaller than a basketball or a tennis? Like, there's an endless amount of questions.
And also playing with it, where you mentioned, I can't remember exactly what you said now, but something about, could Brad buy one? No. There is, well, that's asking
Ask you later, because he probably is about to buy, I don't know. But you're right, it's flexible. And also, even though the premise is like, this always knows the answer, it's fine if one of them isn't right. You can say, is that accurate? They go, no. You go, that's really weird, it's never wrong. I guess he's trying to throw me off.
Actually, I mean, the ask again later is quite funny, just when it just pops up. It's like, no, we need to know now. So if you can...
There's a lot. That's the other thing that's great about the 8 ball, and this is all the design of whoever invented that and the people that still manufacture that. We have borrowed from that real world thing. But these answers, a lot of them, even though they are yes, no, a lot of them are quite funny. And the rhythm and the sort of structure of how they come up is truly random because they're really shuffling and cutting. So often you'll get something funny that is kind of playful.
I think it was like, when it's a definite, yes, definitely.
Yes, definitely.
No, not up for debate, this one,
it is most certain or absolutely not. Those things are funny and you don't know when they're going to come up.
No.
And that I like that element of it.
Yeah, there's a jazz element to it, isn't there? And so you'd run through these asking the questions.
So I would say, so if it's a car, is it something man-made? Yes. Is it something that I own? My sources say yes. And now this is a no, so I might say, is this something I can hold in my hands? No. And I lay that down and I got the triangular formation because of the triangles on the face of the card. It's just a tiny little nod to that. And then this wouldn't be here. So I think of this in my head. This will sound really airy-fairy, but in my head, the premise I want to get across to you is that these cards are helping me visually see an imagined version of that thing here. So I'm looking here and I'm saying, okay, so last one turned over, all right, good. So this formation of cards indicates to me that you must be thinking about a car. Is it a car? And it's almost like it pops up. It gives me like a flash of inspiration. I go, oh, it's a car. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. That's amazing.
It's kind of like 20 questions, isn't it?
It does feel like that.
These are giving you the answers.
So I'm turning this one over and it's almost like, in my head, it's like I'm getting a flash of inspiration for what that thing is. I see it in my head as if I kind of play like I'm really seeing it appear and I go, oh right, it's a car. Was it a red one or something as a car? Yes. And I might try sometimes and push for a bit extra and maybe
brilliant. Okay.
Along with that.
Yeah.
But it depends on the how it's been going. Some people you'll do this to and they're so, I think, they're kind of charmed by this, but I think some people are so against imagining things, and I guess you shouldn't really do magic on those people, but in a professional environment, every now and again, you'll get the alpha male who'll go like, yeah, that's right, and then I just know that when I tell them what the thing is that I've glimpsed or peeked, that'll wake them up, and they go like, wow, oh, no, okay, and then they start to pay attention. So, but some people you'll get that are so responsive and enjoying this kind of play that you'll get here and I'll know that I can push them a bit further.
The other nice thing actually is the fact that the initial answers come from the cards, but you take the credit for the final one.
Yeah, right.
So it's coming to
but I'm claiming that I'm drawing some inspiration or power from these cards, and that's what's giving me the answers.
Yeah.
It really softens what we do as mind reading a lot, which is think about a thing. Oh, it's this. Yes. Oh, wow. Or your eye twitched.
Yeah.
And I know it's a number 8. Is it a black 8?
Yes.
You know, all of that stuff is gone with this because
No.
we just. And I think really, this is an interesting framework to perform a lot of magic, and many people have spoken about that before. People like the Jerks, people like Michael Weber and Tim Trono with things like Real Secrets. I think this is a very interesting space to occupy, and we'll talk about this more in a bit, but I think this framework of I'm not doing anything, it's all about this, is really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's kind of the core framework, and we'll talk briefly in a moment if we change what that is, so if it's not an object, if it's something else. But the peaking is something you need to practice. Practice in front of a mirror, practice at home by yourself, record yourself doing it. You want to be, the reason I'm doing it when I'm pointing is to justify my eyes looking there, because I often see people glimpse at something and they'll go like, okay, yeah, that goes inside the thingy, and we'll just put this away, and it's like everyone registers those moments.
Yeah, it's such good advice because you're giving yourself multiple chances to see it as well, and not trying to
Because I'm
get it in
going to
one
first
go.
lift up and go, great. So in a moment, when I'm looking here, you're going to cut 1. So I've had 2 chances already to see it. If the writing's really bad, I can go, great. And now 2 and 3 piles onto the table.
Yeah.
And if it's chicken scratch, doctor's writing, I can then go, great, let me know when you're done. And I can just be here and look at it. I can gypsy glimpse if I need. But I'm trying to get that over with and out the way. And I think the throwing it is really nice just to...
Doesn't matter.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So... I've talked a lot, but just because it's the peaking, I just...
Yeah, but it's a real key part of this, so it's good that we spent some time on it. But let's move on now. Should we go on to the next effect?
Yes.
So now we're going to talk through different ways you can use the cards to reveal other objects and things. So let's start with playing cards, because I think that's what all magicians are going to end up using this with at some point. But
yeah, I think so. And so obviously the obvious choice is you could use a deck of cards, and you could have someone take one, or you could have someone glimpse at one.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about that too much, because I think having a deck that is 2.5 times the size or 2 times the size of Modern Oracle to just have someone look at a card is a waste of space in your pocket. We all love card tricks, but let's put them away from
Yeah, and also when you've got 2 decks in play, it becomes a bit we found this through, didn't we? Because the first thing I thought when I had the cards made was, oh, let's do a playing card reveal with them, and then the reality of having the 2 decks doesn't quite make. However, let's just say you've known a card, you've forced a card, you've peeked a card, you've done something with a card.
Yeah. Well,
or you use the peek right down.
This is what I was going to say. So the way that I've used this with a card, honestly, with the card is something I use for magicians. I think it's a shame to use this just with a card for normal people.
Yeah, you've got tons of cards.
The object or a name or a date of birth or something. But say you write down 5 of diamonds, and that is going in here. Say, great, before we do this, actually, can you think of a playing card? Don't let me know what that is. We'll put that in there for later. And now mix them up. And you would do the prelude again, right?
Yeah.
We've already talked about that. And now cut into a triangular formation. 1, 2, 3, and I've seen it's the 5 of diamonds. Great. So I'm going to ask 3 questions that are going to narrow this down to the 5 of diamonds, vaguely. You don't have to get right the way there. So for example, so it's a no here. So I'm going to say, so is this a black card? Don't tell me. It's not likely. Is that accurate? Okay, good. So we know it's a red card. Is this, and it's a no again, so I'm going to say, is this a heart? So I'm just changing in the real moment the questions as I see it, no. So that means it's a diamond, is that right?
Yes.
Good.
And
is this a number card?
Yes.
I would think so. So now what's nice about this, and the same with the other thing we just spoke about previously, it feels like the Oracle is helping you get 40 or 50% of the way there, but then the revelation is so accurate and dead on without any fishing. I've had people go, okay, but how does that help you?
Yeah.
It's
but
like,
you can take it further. You can go. Is
4,
it
5, 6 piles?
picture card, a number card? Is it high? Is it low? And you can narrow all the way down to it. But at any point you want, even with this information here, you've got enough.
I think it's punchier to do 3, like the rule of 3, the triangular formation, the fact that it feels like this shouldn't.
Especially when these are a little further apart, and it's like, just focus on you. Imagine your card was in the middle here, and five of diamonds, and you've got it, and you've got yourself a great reveal there.
I think it's a really interesting, and if you do this by having them in Magins, you say, if you've seen a Magic 8 Ball before, great. This is a travel version of that, like a pocket version. It's much easier to carry around, but instead of the ball, it's a deck of cards. Actually, can you think about a different kind of card, like a playing card? Imagine a deck, imagine you shuffle it up, imagine you take one out, you look at that, you put it back and you shuffle again. Do you have a card? Great, write that down and put it away for later. Back to these now though, we can use these to understand what cards you're thinking of, but before that, let me show you some. So now it's like, it just nicely blends, and you can have them imagine shuffling a deck, so that at the end you can say, so imagine you go back to that deck you shuffled and you start dealing them face up onto the table, and I'll start just dealing different cards. So there's a 4 of clubs, a hearts, a 2 of spades, the 5 of diamonds. Is that the one you think? Like, there's just many different ways you can use this, and I think something to really get you excited about Modern Oracle, because you will be already. If you think of this as, and it's more than this because it's the peak device and everything, but if you think of this as like a flexible, kind of moldable framework, you'll just be able to enjoy playing with this in performance to be kind of, like experimental with what you reveal and how you reveal it. And that's how you'll find the kind of, we have different ways of revealing and performing stuff with this, and you'll find your own just by doing it, and you'll go, wow, I could do it like that.
There's so many different directions you could go with, but that's a really clean way of just revealing a playing card, which is very similar to revealing anything, but the playing card, I think, is the one we've been talking about.
Rather than do a separate clip, let's just, we don't need to redo any of this in terms of like physically create the same actions, but you could do playing cards. Names are really great. Is this male or female? Is it someone that I know? Is it, they couldn't know the answer to that.
Anything, locations, anything that can kind of be defined by, the yes/no answers to get down to whatever.
But when you think about it, really, that's anything. And so names are great, objects are great. Instead of writing it, they can draw something. Also great. I prefer them to write it, but they can draw it. You can do cards. You could do pin numbers. You can do a single digit. You could say, think of the day of the month you were born on. The Oracle can find out when you were born, right? So, is this an even number? Yes or no? Is this a blah, blah, blah? Is this in the second half of the month? Yes. And then you say, this tells me if I look at, it's just anything you want. So rather than us go over all of the possible options, you should experiment around with, our favourite is that, I'm speaking for both of us.
No, but I agree.
My favourite is the object, is the thing, because it feels very separate from the cards and it feels very impossible at the end. I love doing the prelude with it. I always do the prelude with it. Cards are great, numbers are great, dates of births are great, names are great, drawings are great. Anything you want. But I would start with the object, because peeking a word that is an object makes the peak even faster and easier. And the framework is always the same. So you can experiment whilst learning how to use Modern Oracle, but at the same time have the safety net of it always being the same structure and the same amount of piles and all that stuff. All right, I think let's move on.
Okay.
So what if you don't have a table and you want to perform with Modern Oracle? I can tell you very confidently that you can take this out into the strolling, walk-around world of magic and mentalism. I've done it as a mentalist walk-around, and it's amazing. We can borrow from Doc Hilford and the amazing glimpse that everyone seems to know now, but I think everyone forgets that it was Doc Hilford that made us aware of it. I don't have a top pocket now, but if I did, just imagine that goes in the box, and whilst you're shuffling the cards, I can take them, and instead of asking you to cut the 3 piles in this case, I'm going to do that differently in a second. I'm going to take this, give them a good mix. I'm looking right here at this case, the 5 of diamonds, and I'm going to take this and put it in my top pocket, and I can look down and see it again if I need, and if I feel like I need another look, or I want to do it how Doc taught us, which is to miss the pocket, I can then go back, take a really good look as I put that away. All the focus is on the person shuffling the Oracle, and none of the focus is here. But it just means that you can do this stood up on your little pocket here on your suit jacket, and it goes away. And because of how small it is, it just doesn't make you look bulky and weird, which is really nice. So then the way I handle the 3 cards is a little different. So imagine you're mixing those up and you've written down car like before. And then say, so go through, don't look at them, but take out any 3 from different parts of the deck, of the pack, or whatever you want to call it. 1, 2, 3. And hand those to me face down. Good, and now we take these back, and these just go away in my same pocket where the box is. And now I'm going to ask the same 3 questions. I'm going to say, so we'll use the Oracle to try and understand what it is you're thinking of. Remember, you've already done the prelude, so that will have happened between these 2 parts. So that's a no. So I'm going to say, is this something natural you find in nature? My reply is no, and that goes face up on the bottom now. And I'm showing this around. So is this something So we know it's man-made. It's something bigger than a tennis ball, I don't know. Without doubt. Is that accurate? Yes, good. See, the Oracle always knows. And the last one, let's ask it, is this something I could make? No. Okay, so this formation of cards tells me that you must be thinking about a car or whatever that is, right? And this is kind of a nice image. If people are taking pictures and you're holding this, it looks interesting. If you want to hold them this way out, if people are snapping pictures, great. What's really nice, just like close up, or on the table, in fact, sorry, is that this is all happening at the end just with the 3 cards. So I like with this stood up, the box goes away, there's never need to go back to that, and the deck goes away as well, which is nice. I like it taking up space on the table, but for walk around, finishing with just 3 cards in your hand and then looking at someone and saying, this means you must be thinking about a car, it's just like feels so mysterious.
But the other way you can do it, if you've got a group of people, you can have them hold out hands into the and do exactly the same as what you have.
Shuffle and take one and put it flat on the hand, because they don't know.
And as we said, if you've got someone that's shuffled the cards and they're just out, so if you just hold those and you've shuffled them, I can still see what that is, and then just and tailor the responses to match the cards. So there's so many different ways you can go with it.
It's actually kind of unbelievable how flexible this is, and because the core idea, like that old, I don't know what the exact saying is, but that old kind of idea that simplicity is always the best. This simple idea of changing the question to fit the answer that's really there means that you can let them really shuffle, means that you can do this sat down at a table or stood up, means you could do this from not across the room, but I could stand at this end of the pool table and have you that end, and I could comfortably read those. That won't be true for everyone, because eyesight's different for us all. But it just means that you're truly able to do this in someone else's hands if you want, on a table, whatever you like. I've actually had some people that, and this is worth mentioning, whether stood up or sat down, sometimes people aren't accepting of that top one being turned. They say, no, I want to take one from anywhere. And presuming they say that before you ask a question, you're fine. And I've actually had it when they go, so turn over the top one and ask it. And they go, no, I'm going to take from anywhere. And now when they take out, when it's happened to me only once, because it was a difficult person, they've taken out one that matched the mark on the top. So I'm just thinking like, well, you're screwed, so good luck. Right? And then the following ones, they can do that first, and then I can ask the question. But if they were to take a different one, so say they take this one, they say, great, are you happy with that one? And let's ask a different question. And now I'll change the question to match the answer they're going to take out. So you can structure it and do it all different ways. I love the idea of it being on people's hands. That's really interesting. Yeah,
and the other one is you give the deck to one person. It's like, just give some to your friends. They take some, and give some to someone else, and then you all shuffle the cards, and then they bring them in.
Yeah.
And then even after you've done the first one, you can shuffle them again if you like, and you do, and stop whenever you like, and then you
turn over.
Yeah, so it's not quite as defined as when you've got 3 piles and we're not moving from that. They can keep rolling. And the same whenever you're doing these reveals, the more they get to shuffle, and
it's just chaotic.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to do until you've seen the card and you go with it. So there's still a lot of freedom even when you haven't got a table in play. So we're going to talk about some different ideas you can use with the deck in different scenarios, aren't we? So
different things that we've both played around with, in some cases together, in some cases separately.
Yeah.
We're mentioning them here because we feel like it would be weird if we spent 10 minutes teaching the handling for Out of This World, where we can just say, you can do Out of This World with this deck and it works great.
Yeah, we don't need to spend 20 minutes.
We don't want to tread on toes and teach things that aren't ours.
No.
But speaking of Out of This World, if you do Out of This World, that was a seamless transition. You can separate the deck into blue and black, yes and no, positive, negative, good and bad, and you can do Out of This World, but frame it as thinking positively and thinking negatively, and then you can reveal at the end that they found all of the positive and separated that from all of the negative.
If they were to learn an Out of This World, where would you point them?
I would go to the Paul Curry book. He's the inventor, the creator of the original Out of This World. It's such a I think it's the best card trick you can do ever. And there's many versions of it that are amazing. This is a nice novel one. This is more a presentational framing rather than a method. I really like the Paul Harris Galaxy physical method. Is slightly different. With the marks on these cards, it makes it even better for that, because you can really see when the change is about to happen. Right? So you can stop feeling at the right time without having to look at anything. So Galaxy is good. There's a book called Best of All Worlds that has versions in there from amazing people like Michael Weber. and endless other people,
Yeah.
all different ways of doing it. Leonard Green has some amazing versions of Out of This World.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's many versions.
But they're the places to go, aren't they?
Yeah,
If you
and,
don't- if
and
you
regardless
don't
of
know.
method, if you do choose to do Out of This World with these cards, and you present it as positive versus negative, or someone being optimistic as opposed to pessimistic, or whatever, kind of a fun way to use these cards, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. They're ideal.
So when we were both really excited about the prelude with Modern Oracle, John out of nowhere dropped a nuclear bomb of an idea on a phone call and then hung up the phone, and I got so excited about it. Please tell them about this. This is like the final moment for the prelude. So say that you've done it, you take the cards back if you're going to do this, and then you would go into what you're about to say.
Okay.
This is an amazing idea. It's really good.
Okay, so that one of the few drawbacks is if you're never quite in control of what card's gonna come up. So you need to think on your feet in terms of controlling your question to match the card. However, if you get the cards, they're shuffled, you look through, and I can see here I've got a negative and then a positive, so I've got a black and then a blue. What you can do is you can get a break underneath the two of them, and then they can ask any question, and I will either do a double lift to reveal a positive, or I'll just deal a single card for the negative. So I'm now controlling the Oracle's response based on the question, which is not something you can usually do with the routine and the way we've described so
think
far,
this
is it?
is so good. Like, adding layers is always amazing and really important. And if you do the normal prelude after you've glimpsed the thing in the box, and then you take them back and do this, and you say, you know what? Why don't you decide the question?
Yeah.
And what is the answer? Right. And then you do a double or not, and then you go, wow, okay. Well, actually, we can use these in a different way. Shuffle them again.
Yeah.
It just feels
Yeah.
like, how is this happening?
Yeah, and another one you can do is if you set the deck into.
This is also great. This
Yeah,
is
I keep saying red black. It's not red black. Is it? Blue and black, or positive negative, alternating all the way through the deck. And then what you can do is you can bring it out. They're not shuffled yet. However, you can have them ask any question, and then just lift off anywhere in the deck they like. And then if you, because they're alternating, wherever you look down to where they've cut to. If that matches the response that you need, you can go straight for that. However, if it's the other way, and turn over the deck, and they get the opposite one.
I think this is great as well as a first phase to the prelude thing, and then saying, you know what, but you didn't mix them. Why don't you mix up the Oracle? Then
Yeah.
you can really try and, because remember, we're talking about this as if something we don't understand that we're trying to break. So I thought it was a novel thing, but I've realised over the last 6 months it always knows the
Yeah.
answer, and it's starting to annoy me. Will you help me test it? And they're like, yeah, of course. So
Yeah.
it's like we are against the Oracle almost. So I love this idea. This is actually a fairly new idea. The doing a double or not was months ago, and I think it's brilliant.
the double you can do at any point because you can just shuffle them.
And
you can
if
just
they didn't
quickly look.
have a yes, no on top or a no, yes, what do they do? So let me,
Well,
let me
I-
give
well,
you
I'm
this
person-
back.
go
Let's
on.
just do this in
You do
real
it.
life, right? So I'm going to go pop, 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 and I'm going to look. There you go. There's a yes, yes. Enjoy.
Right. Well, in that case, all we'll do is just scan through and just look for two alternate corners, and they go to the top. And as long as you know which one, and then you just do your
So
double
do
lift.
it for me, right? So now we've mixed. I've shuffled. I'll give
Yeah.
it back to you.
Okay. So,
I'm gonna have
you're
these-
going to ask the question,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. So
So I'm going to ask the question. Okay, so I'm going to ask: are we sat at a pool table?
and the oracle cards say, for sure.
For sure, because it knows, right? It's
Yeah.
crazy. And then as the reaction's happening, you've got all the time in the world to push off those two, turn them back over, and then hand them back to shuffle.
And you're back.
Because John's idea that he's shared here is so brilliant, I want you to just fully understand how good it is. So separate the deck, so they're blue-black, so they're yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. This is what this allows for. So it's a great first phase for the prelude if you don't shuffle first, because we're in order, right? So I'm going to have you ask the first question.
Okay.
And then I'll ask questions, but we're going
Right.
to be testing the Oracle together because remember, we're a team. So but before you ask, so think of a question, but before you ask it, cut anywhere.
Okay.
So and lift and hold up like this, good. And
Yeah.
now ask any question to the Oracle.
Okay. Are we in Manchester?
Are we in Manchester? And turn everything over, have a look at what you cut. It is
It's
most certain. And now you can even show, look, if one more and it would have been
Yeah. And you.
different. And it's, how good is that? So
Yeah.
where you cut, I'm looking here, that's a yes, that's a no, and I'm just guiding them to either turn over and look or here.
Yeah.
Right?
Ideal.
This is brilliant. I really like this.
Yeah.
So it does have a setup. The other double lift.
But it's a setup. It doesn't take long. You can only do, if you only want to do the middle part. that's fine because that's only where they're going to get a cut.
If you really wanted to mess with people and you wanted to do that extra mile that not everyone always wants to do, you could do this as a first phase for the prelude. The second part of the prelude could be after they shuffle, you take them back. And we all know that if I shuffle these overhand and I was a normal person, I'd be worse at shuffling than this. But we all know that most of the cards here are still going to be,
Of course,
not in that case,
yeah.
but most
But
of
you
them
can
are still gonna be alternating, right?
test this.
So now you could spread through and do the double lift thing, right? And then the third part could be, and now I'll tell you what, you just mix them even more, go crazy, push them around on the table if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
And now you go into the normal prelude. So you've got 3 methods to do just the warm up before you
Yeah.
go to the trick.
Yeah.
That would really kind of devastate people. So another idea that I like a lot that is really down to your imagination. This is an idea we were actually going to include a few months ago on this instructional. The more time has gone on, I think the less I like this idea, but I want to mention it just for completeness. If you take 4 or 3 no's, let's do 3, and a yes, you can actually either have these on the top of the deck or just take out a small packet. You can have somebody take a coin or a chess piece or a banknote or something, and out of a small group of people you can have them hide it. You can have somebody mix. So take those for a second, I'll demonstrate with this. So this is where the money is, and these are other people. So say it ends up there and I know that because maybe it's Flux by Probabilistic, or maybe I'm doing, they're removing something from my wallet and I can feel who takes what, or maybe it's an oddball, Kurasuke, it's whatever. So they're all mixed up, I take these back. I'm not going to put these in an order now, you've actually perfectly mixed that, so that will go there, there, and there, which is great. But if that didn't happen, I would just look at the top one in actuality. So if we mix these up, so top one is a no, so I'd say, okay, great, take one, I did it again, look, it's there again.
But is that not a good point though? Because what you could do is, if you know what these are, and you know where that is, and there's only 4 cards, when you get these back,
Well, I mean, with one
you
cut,
can
you can put it in the right place.
exactly that, so you can go straight to that person. However, the other one is, which is what you're about to explain.
But it's just a really simple idea. Letting someone take some money, you can say, look, it's not me that knows this, it's the Oracle. So you don't even have to have any fancy electronics or a clever method to know. You could just say, someone take this, pass it around, but don't let the Oracle see. It's a bit silly, but it's fun, right? Now you take it back and you deal this in front of person 1, person 2. Say you have to, these are mixed up in a different order, you just separate and you go, that's person 3, person 4. Good, so let's see, the Oracle seems to know, do you have the money? And you're just asking the question, not a chance. Do you have the money? Definitely not. Do you have the money? Yes, definitely. And just, we know it's, my sources say no. Do you have it? Show us. And it's just about it finding something instead of knowing something. It's still knowing something, but revealing a location of something. So interesting idea. I was really excited about this a while ago, and as time's gone on, I've just so fallen in love with having someone write an object or draw a picture, or sometimes reveal a card, that I kind of abandoned this. But we wanted to mention it just for completeness.
No, I think this is great. I like this one, so I'm glad we mentioned it.
All right. One other feature built into the box, as well as it for peaking, means that because of the hole, you can hide the 8 but add in, say, a business card. And now you have a place that you can write something secretly. This also works great if that's a post-it note and it's actually stuck on the sticky side towards this box. It feels like a face down stuck in post-it note. So you can take the deck out, remove a card, close that up again, and as if leaning on here, you could actually do. So if you were to just name like a random number, what would that be?
8.
8, okay, and that tells me that you will blah 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 blah. And now this might be a prediction for a card. It could be a prediction for an Equivoke trick or little sequence we're going to do, or it could be something for completely something different. We'll come back to later, and that is gone, and maybe it's folded up over here. Like that. And then we could go into Modern Oracle. For example, that would obviously stay inside the box because that would be a post-it note stuck in there, and it wouldn't have 5 of diamonds on. And we can use this. You can then say that the Oracle always knows, but it knows ahead of time in some cases. So last night I sat down with the Oracle, I shuffled it up, asked it some questions, and it gave me a flash of inspiration about a number, a random number that I was going to ask you to think of here today. What was that number?
8.
8, right, okay. And then moving this out, see inside of here, and if it's a post-it, you peel that off, you bring it out, you turn it over, and it does say 8, but am I right?
Yes, but you can see.
So you get the idea. Again, this is something we were excited about for about a week, and it just fell by the wayside because I think the real strength of this is as a framework to reveal stuff. But you have the ability, if you want, to load something through here or right inside the box.
Would you use a thumb writer on that
You could. I think you just
for the same effect, but just
You absolutely could. This is one of those things that needs really testing and performing and working. And it's not an area that either of us were deeply interested in. So instead, we really ran with these other things we're talking about.
but we wanted to mention things that people could,
I'd say
we're not going to cover everything you can do with the deck in one sitting. So it's nice to kind of mention things that other people might use later on.
For sure, and I think this approach, this idea, is something that someone will run with, and it's probably the idea on this little ideas section. Out of everything that we've not really played around with, everything else I'd say apart from finding the object, the other stuff has really been tested and played with. This was just to mention it for completeness, that if you like, you can write a prediction or something inside that box. And at the same time, if you can fit anything through that hole. We tried. You can't fit a real 8-ball through there; it's too big.
No.
But you know, anything else you can load up through there, you could, and then you could kind of produce it from the box if you wanted to. But now we're getting into kind of crazy territory.
Yeah, but I think the strength, as you say, is what we've already discussed.
Yeah. So those are some ideas. Enjoy them with Modern Oracle, and so another idea that I have had a lot of fun with, whereas you were in the world of double lifts and alternated stacks, which are really clever, I came up with something more simple. I'll just do it for you.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a kind of a great follow-up, to be honest. So after you've done the trick, I have some situations where people want to then look at the oracle and play around with it. And then if I wait for the right moment where I can take this back and just look like I'm putting it away, it's really easy to then separate those two colours. So actually, just to give them full information, let's imagine we've done the trick and we're in this situation like this. And let's say you want to look at that and you do, and it ends up in whatever order we don't know. And now we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
So I might pick this up and say, I don't know, it's really amazing. And you're doing something else now, and I'm just going to upjog all of those black colours in this case.
Because this is so easy because there's only 26 cards in the deck, so you can do it super quick. Yeah.
It's also because of your brilliance. If it was me, they would have all been the same colour, but you've made this so easy to see because of the two different completely different contrasts, which is perfect. So I'm going to do that. It's just going to look like I'm going through them. I'm just talking. It's a down moment. So this isn't something you would do stood, go, wait, one more thing, and doing all this. So that's now separated. And then you let a bit of time pass, right? Or maybe this is the next time someone comes around to your house, or it's the next time you go to a different group and someone goes, come and show that to Dave over here, it's insane. And you do this. So you've seen this already, you understand how this works, it always knows the answer.
Yeah.
I found that you can push this a little bit further. So you can decide the question. So ask it any question, any yes, no, binary question, what do you want?
Is my name John?
Is your name John? And here's the interesting thing. You, not me, but you can get the answer that you want. Any answer that you want to any question. So whatever you like. Is your name John? Do you want your name to be John today? Do you want to be called Mojo or something different?
No, John's fine.
John's fine.
Yeah.
So take out any answer. And show us, what does it say?
Yes.
Yes, right? It's amazing. So all we've done is divide the deck, and I'm now letting you ask any question, and then I'm saying, what answer do you want? And the oracle will deliver the answer that you want every single time. So it's a slight change in premise, which is why it doesn't fit for every situation, and you need a setup.
Yeah.
But for the right person in the right moment, often, like if they're very interested in it, you let a little time pass. You go, apparently there's something else you can do with these cards. You can get the answer that you want just by setting your intention and focusing on the answer and then asking the right question. So ask me a question, ask the oracle a question, and I'll take anyone. And I'm just timing that. So if you say no, I'm going to go really slowly through that half that's no, but because of the marks I can see when it changes.
Yeah.
And if you want, wow, that was a card explosion. So if you want no, I'm just going to go very slowly through that no bank. And if you want a yes, I'm going to kind of block push off. So I'm nearly done with that.
Yeah.
And then go really slowly down here. You can take anyone.
And I've done similar things with playing cards. And you can, one I would do, and I don't know if you'd agree, but I would maybe have it set like this. So you've got maybe half the black. So the majority of the one's in the middle. And then you can say, right, so let's say you've asked the question, you need a yes. You spread the cards out, just take one from the middle, and then you've got, they can choose basically from any of these. And because you're saying get one from the middle, they're not going to go, to the extreme ends.
Yeah.
And then if you want it the other way, in your hands, you just cut them.
Yeah.
And then you've done the opposite. So now in this case, the black ones are in the middle.
Yeah.
So that's just another thought. And then using this sort of similar thing, you can maybe have them deal down, stop. There isn't that many though, so you've only got 13 cards. So it's a little risky. Where this is fun. This is fine either way.
I
It's
like
great.
letting them take, and it feels a little. It's like having them cut with yours, or you turning it
Yeah.
over. It's texturally different to having them shuffle and turn over the top one. It just feels a bit more like let's try and really break this thing.
Yeah, but it's good to start with a setup and have them do one thing, and then it gets free, and they're shuffling, and then and it's you kind of build from there.
I know this isn't a bonus thing. I'm not going to waffle on for 10 seconds, but there's just so much focus on the oracle, and the premise is so in our brains as like fortune telling tarot cards, palmistry, all of those, mediumship even. God, I never thought we'd say that on these. It's such an interesting topic for people in real life. And when you say oracle, this is like it's the 8-ball oracle. It literally says it on the box.
Yeah.
People are like, they're hooked. So there's so much focus on the object. You've just devastatingly building in like a setup and then the peak and all this other stuff. I love the idea of starting with a set deck and just destroying it more and more as the trick goes on. So by the end, there's nothing left and they can check.
And that's the beauty. The beauty is they can be shuffled, and you can still go into all the other things we've spoke about. These just little things you can do at the start, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think now is a great time just to talk very quickly about the inspirations behind Modern Oracle. There aren't really many, but as time has gone on, there aren't really so many of those because I think it's very original. But as time has gone on, there are a couple of people I'd like to mention, and I'm sure you'll have some too. Of course, the original Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah, you can't get away from that's where we got the idea, is it? And then translated it to a pocket object, which happened to be cards.
Exactly, but it works so well, right?
Yeah.
The idea of making this into essentially a window envelope is something you could discover in many places. Bob Cassidy has a lot of work on it. George Kaplan was the first place that I know of where that exists in print, but it's also in the Jinx. It's in Corinda. It's in lots of places. I think, but build it into a box, but making that illusion be like this is kind of a unique, special thing built into Modern Oracle that I really like. Having this be a deck that we are calling something that is a game or available in the real world. I think we have to give credit to people like Michael Weber, Tim Trono, Real Secret.
Yeah, for sure.
They are the originators and pioneers of making things every day, making things make sense, and making me realise that context is everything. And if the context feels like it is real, and the object looks like it is a real thing, the reason why we put a barcode on there isn't because you can scan it; it's because it makes it a real thing, right? All of that is Michael Weber and Tim Trono, and then it being something that would fit into like a collection of unique decks is, means that we need to mention the jerk. And the concept of every Decker story and all of that brilliant thinking that you can find from the blog. I think other than that, the one thing that is a more recent realisation that I've had is that Michael Weber and Tim Trono had a trick called The Truth. And I don't want to mention anything about that because if you have it, you'll know it's amazing. And if you don't, you'll wish you had it. But there's an element to that was actually a bonus way of using that because it was a lie detector routine. And there was a way of using that was Oracle related, and that does have a strong connection, I'd say, with Modern Oracle. So if you know what that is, you know. If you don't, just understand that once again, Tim and Michael get a huge nod of the head and a thank you from us.
They'll all be Googling it now.
They'll never find it, it's fine. But yeah, so that's where this comes from. And from here, I think it's a great time to just say, we are trying to not make this video 3 hours long because we don't think it's necessary.
No.
We're confident that you'll be so excited by this, you'll run out and really start doing it very soon, and you'll find your own ways to use this. But we want to thank you for buying it.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you have ideas, get in touch, send them to us. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah.